how the devil are you? Welcome to WCS Europe Season 3, Round of 16, Group D, match number 3. That's right. We've got MMA versus duckdeok. Let's just check in with the brackets first. There we go. Nearly tripped over my own words there. MMA and duckdeok through to the upper bracket final, and StarCraft and Titan, unfortunately, relegated down to the lower bracket. They're going to have to fight their way through 2 more matches if they want to claim their place in the round of 8. Sean's with me, Apollo. A little bit disappointing for the Europeans tonight. Let's just talk about those 2 first off. StarCraft, we said earlier, young, naive, doesn't really know what it's like to be on this kind of stage, but coping with it absolutely fine. He seems to be in great spirits. He's got some good support here. It's a really good experience for him. Titan's got that experience, but wasn't able to take down duckdeok, even though it was a close match in the end.
Yeah, it was a close match, and I think everyone expected it to be a close match. One of the big reasons why is Titan's a very good player. He's just never hit the point where people can say, oh, he did this in this tournament. Yeah, I remember him. He hasn't had that kind of remark yet, but he's getting closer and closer towards that. But when they play against each other, I spoke to StarCraft backstage, and I said, how are you doing? Commiserations and whatnot. And he said, well, to be honest, I didn't really expect that much against MMA, but give me the Protoss players, give me the Protoss players. And he said it in a very confident manner. So I think that game can be a good one.
All right, okay, well, we'll look forward to that in just a moment. Let's turn our attention now to the winners' final. It's MMA versus duckdeok. It's a good old Korean clash of styles, this one. MMA, of course, we know all about him, Triple Crown winner. Duckdeok, previous season's champion, really surprised a lot of people last season. But now he's not really known as the shocker. He's not really known as the surprise. We almost expected him to win his first game. So we've probably got the final we would have expected to have. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I would say so. I think there was always going to be Titan could do it, but it was always more so duckdeok will probably be able to win that game.
Okay, and then in terms of the way these two match up, MMA, we always talk about him as the man that's always coming back to form. He always seems to be almost getting back there, but he's still not made it. I mean, is WCS Europe his absolute golden opportunity to prove that he's back to his very best again?
Yes, is the very simple answer. This is his tournament to win it. This is not a tournament that he's coming in to lose in the round of 16, to lose in the round of 8. He's come here to win it all. And I actually believe in him to win it all. So going through duckdeok here, if he wants to be the winner, if he's worthy of first place, then this is nothing other than a 2-0 in his mind. Okay, and then duckdeok, returning champion. We've said it before, no champion in any of the regions has ever been able to retain their title or even win a second one of the first 3 seasons that we've had of WCS so far. Saw Innovation go out this morning in Korea as well, so he's lost his opportunity to win a GSL this season. Does duckdeok have the depth of the builds and the kind of game style that he had from season 2? Does he have all of that as collective enough this season to get to the final and win the whole thing again? I would say yes, with luck. So it's not a complete yes. It's not like he's got a whole package.
Do you think he needs more PvPs on the way? I mean, am I sort of making him less than perhaps good that he was last season? But I felt that he had, the draw was favourable for him in the way that it fell with PvP.
Yeah, he's definitely very good in that matchup. He is weaker in the others. So obviously stuff like having a good draw in the round of 8, if he was to make it there, is a bit of luck. Being able to get an opponent he wants is a bit of luck. I don't think he can come into this tournament and say that he could 2-0 every single player here, but that's something I'd expect from MMA. I think duckdeok now, even though he surprised a lot of people and there was a lot of doubt around him last season, the doubt's not completely gone away, but he's actually still a very much so contender for top 4. If he's a contender for back-to-back, that's another question.
Okay, final question about duckdeok. His third game was a lot of control. He was very controlled in his aggression. Many players, me included, I'm sure, and maybe sometimes you as well, would have seen that early mothership called go and thought, great, I can push now, I'm in control, and they just pounded into the base and lost everything. He was very meticulous, very patient, didn't want to get soaked into it, held off the harassment, and then just waited until the exact right moment. That's a different duckdeok to the one we saw last season, isn't it?
Yeah, he was aggressive, very in-your-face play style, and that was the way that he was able to win it. But what you just described is the exact same thing he needs to bring up against MMA. Be patient, deal with MMA's play style, the drops we're going to see, because we know MMA is a very fast-paced player, will try to exploit you. So take it calm, play it soft, play it easy, and then wait for the exact moment and then strike. That's the way to beat MMA.
All right, thank you very much, Apollo. Let's get going then for game number 3. Our winner's game, it's duckdeok versus MMA. Let's go to our commentary team. Kalaris and Grubby, take it away.
Thanks very much, guys. Welcome to the commentary desk for what is sure to be a pretty cool series, as we have duckdeok and MMA fighting for that first round of 8 spot. And I think we're in a position where we kind of expected to be in this group.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really want to predict too much going into this, but now that we're here, hindsight, but it's not too unexpected. The 2 Koreans, both excellent, MMA very much on the up and up, and duckdeok already proved himself last season. One of my most anticipated round of 16 matches, actually, between these. Even though there's no, like, oh, there's a European against a Korean story, chance of underdog and so on, but just some incredibly high-level StarCraft 2 play is what I expect to see.
Likewise, and this is kind of odd, because this is a series that in Season 2, we could have actually seen. MMA was defeated by MC in the round of 4 just before attaining the heights of the grand final to play against duckdeok. So we just barely did not see this series, but now we get to, and that really shows the caliber of these players so high up in the rankings that it could have quite easily been a final.
Yeah, that's true. They could have met in the final, and it was a 3-1 victory for MC over MMA, and that's where his story ended. So it's the matchup that hamstrung him last time. Will he have worked on that particularly much?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. MMA now, I mean, he looked good in Season 2, let's not lie. But after performing at Bucharest and now coming into this season, I think it's a little bit more of a different MMA. Of course, there was that ramp up in back to form, but this is a good MMA. We're left with Yonsu, Frost, and Derelict.
Yeah, it looks like both of them removed the 2 maps that's best for the opponent's race, roughly.
Yeah.
Roughly. There's small preferential variants, but for the most part, pretty expected. Now, what's going to be the first map? We will know shortly. A kind smile, but both of them, and suddenly in the game, they'll both be 2 little devils.
Indeed. They're at each other's throats very, very soon here, as MMA, you know, as Apollo said, he's one of the favorites to win this all. You can't really discount duckdeok either, though, because coming from a Season 2 championship, that's pretty good. We're going to have Derelict Watcher, Yonsu, and then Frost. What do you think about this map order?
I'm very excited to see this. I haven't ever seen a lot of PVTs on Yonsu yet. Don't know if we'll get to Frost. Derelict Watcher I've seen a lot, and I'm not excited about it, really.
No.
I don't really like the map.
Okay.
But for Terran, I would say it's a good map. It's very good. That's my bias for it. It's a good map for Terran. But that is true for the first 14 minutes of the game, or the first 16 minutes of the game. That's usually when I lose to Korean Terrans already, which is why.
Darn.
But someone like duckdeok, who is better and who can survive that time, suddenly, when you get to 3 versus 3 bases, and if you don't die, taking a 4th base for Terran is really, really hard. Because if it's a planetary fortress, 2 stalkers behind it can harass SCVs. If it's an orbital, well, send any unit there and he'll start messing with whatever's there, zealots, DTs, and so on. Now, surviving the 3 versus 3 base situation, that's going to be a big challenge. Trend recently, Kalaris, you know it as well as anyone.
Yes, just
SCV
a little bit.
Viking pool.
It seems to be a strong one. It really does. MMA is the kind of player that does have that in his repertoire, but we've actually seen, you know, some pretty good macro games against Protoss as well from him as of late. And a lot of the you know, managers on Acer, etc., can really testify to how well MMA is able to play out those big macro games, having a lot of ghosts in there, using cloak later on to really kind of mess around with his opponent's composition. So MMA, he's the full package of a Terran right now.
Yeah.
And duckdeok, during Season 2 finals in Gamescom, actually got obliterated by Tasia in the group stages. And MMA is the kind of player that can still bring kind of that level of TVP to the table as well, I feel.
That is true. His style has been looking very similar to how Tasia has been playing. Quick cloak on those ghosts, take control with cloak ghost and sniping observers.
Yep. All right, guys, let's jump into game number 1 here between our 2 players looking to move on to the round of 8 in first place, as we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner our Red Terran representing Acer as well as Korea. Give it up for MMA. And up to the top right-hand corner here as our blue Protoss representing MVP as well as Korea. Give a quack quack for duckdeok. What is done is done.
What is done is done. We will not look back. If I look back, I'm lost.
Oh, indeed. That's true. You get lost and then you'll be in like a car park somewhere and you're like, this isn't where I was supposed to be.
I think it's some kind of fantasy book or novel or show where they said, if I look back, I'm lost. But anyway, I thought maybe you'll get the reference.
Darn, no,
But then
sorry.
I don't remember what it's from either.
Wait, this was a bad idea.
Back to StarCraft 2 quotes.
Back to StarCraft 2.
It's about time.
Belay that order.
Where's the air support? So, no air support yet. MMA going for command center first. Exceedingly common on Derelict Watcher, and something that has been exploited. I'm just trying to think here by who was the Protoss in 4GG's group? It's hard to put ourselves on the spot like that.
It was yesterday. It was Showtime, right?
Yeah, the other one.
The other one.
Keep it going, and I'll just take a quick look.
All right, Grubster. All right. Well, we have the command center first, going down
Genius.
for MMA. It was genius.
Yes. Genius was exploiting 4GG's known command center first by going for a Nexus first on Belcher Vestige, and then in the next game he went for a gateway into Nexus without gas and cybernetics core. So Genius is someone who exploited known command center first. With Derelict being so common in command center first, duckdeok is not reacting to it yet with a green. He is reacting.
Seemingly so. He's throwing down a pylon very close already.
It's going to be a proxy Stargate.
It
So he
looks like
is
it.
reacting to it. And there's two ways to react. You can run to the extremely greedy side, or you can run to the extremely aggressive side. And duckdeok does like to do a bit of both. This time he rolled the dice. He said, "What's in my fortune?" And it's going to be a proxy Stargate.
He likes the aggression. Now the thing is MMA comes in here and counts. What does he count? He looks at the gas. He sees pylons. How many pylons?
He sees only one pylon. He sees 6 probes in gas. He counts the gas. He says that's a lot of gas mining. And he didn't see the cybernetic score spinning initially. Why wouldn't you have the 50 gas to put in the cybernetic score?
Maybe a very quick tech structure, perhaps.
Yeah, and I don't think it's...
A second pylon. Wow.
Yeah.
He really doesn't want that underpowered.
Yeah, because sometimes... And it's really close, Kalaris. You can make it far away, but I'm really liking this position. I never really thought of making it right behind the smoke screen here.
Yeah, it's an ambitious spot, and it's actually, you know, it's going to hold up for a while here. He sees where the probe came from, though, the direction of it.
Yeah, and now he was thinking of scouting with the SCV Marine, but he's thinking, like, why bother? I know what it's going to be. I know there's going to be 1 or 2 pylons there powering it. I'm not going to be able to cancel it. Now, the Oracle, very interestingly, is going to be right on top of the production facilities. MMA says, I don't have enough time to get an NG bay and a turret. I'm going straight for a bunker in my mineral line. I like that.
Yeah, I like that as well. Just trying to kind of shut it down where it's most useful. But at the same time, the Oracle could turn around and start focusing down Marines.
And it's not going to be done on time.
Oh, and that's annoying because tanking any SCV there, by the time it even gets to the bunker, it'll die. So he has to bring his Marines into here. And he's going to try and harass the natural.
Smart Oracle movement. Instead of contesting over that main base, goes right on here. Those 4 SCVs could potentially go into the bunker, but he's choosing to load it up with Marines. Oracle still has a little bit of energy, but now he's running out, and I bet he turned off his pulsar beam. Double gateway follow-up. Double gateway follow-up. Here comes the second Oracle.
And the second wave of aggression, by the looks of things, is, you know, he could couple these Oracles up with... he can do 2 things. He could go for the very front with a load of gateway units and Oracles, or he could use the Oracles at the back for a while and try and get some harassment done there.
Very true. And he's also started a 3rd Oracle. This is very, very aggressive here by duckdeok. There's 10 Marines on the field. 10 Marines easily beat 2 Oracles, which is kind of weird because 1 Oracle beats 5 Marines. But it's not, it doesn't scale that way.
No, those Marines, they get extremely potent.
Because they take out 1 of the Oracles in double shot.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Very, very strong indeed. And, well,
you don't have an expansion. You must be on 3 or 4 gateways. And
what a
yesterday we
surprise.
saw it with 4 gateways and double void ray from MC, actually 2 days ago.
that took quite a while, but he's actually going to break this first bunker down very, very quickly with that pulsar beam of those Oracles, and he's actually just going to go to work on the Marines as well, and they disintegrate extremely fast with those Stalkers there as well. duckdeok with this crazy, crazy strong aggression early on is doing a number on MMA.
Thanks for coming. See you next game.
Yeah, that was pretty quick and swift. He's going to kill off these Marines and set on top of these production facilities, and now he has to pull all the SCVs once again. MMA would need a miracle, not only to save that tech lab, but to save this game.
Yeah, that's Protoss for you sometimes. If they proxy and they get their stuff up and they have the correct build against you, you're too
GG.
predictable, they will GG you. They'll make you GG really early.
They make you GG. Protoss makes you GG. Words of advice from Grubby.
Really early.
Really?
Sometimes.
Okay.
If you didn't scout it and you're too predictable. Don't take it out of context.
Sure, I shouldn't. You're right.
I was already feeling magnanimous admitting that much about Protoss.
Oh, I'm sorry. We should get it right for SC2 quotes. That's certainly right. All right, so anyway, moving on to game number 2. I guess clean slate from that one. You know, MMA knows what happened. He knows what was coming at him, but he just couldn't deal with it.
Yeah. Well, you knew what was happening, but the pieces were already moving. The die was cast.
Yeah.
He had started with Command Center first on a map that's known for it. Didn't scout for proxies. And of course, even if he did, maybe he's still loose.
Maybe.
It
I mean,
can happen. Hard to say. Hard to say.
It's a tough thing to deal with. And duckdeok, we know from the previous season, his aggression is pretty good. And he knows when to utilize it as well. One thing that's great about duckdeok that I feel is he knows when to throw something aggressive in. It's not just like, I'm just gonna, this is aggressive build, I'm gonna go. Because you see games from him where he goes wildly economically focused as well.
Yeah.
So I feel that duckdeok has a really good sense of when to do things in a particular series.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. He couldn't have gotten that far with PvP just on mechanics.
Yeah.
It's got to be a lot of mind games in there.
There were a lot of close series, though, for him in PvP in Season 2.
True.
For like 4-3, 3-2 against someone.
Yeah, no, I'm proud to be there.
I mean, yeah, I certainly agree. That was a phenomenal finish. But now we move on to game number 2 here as we load up onto Yonsu for our second game. And spawning up to the top right-hand corner as our red Terran representing Acer as well as Korea. Give it up for MMA. And down to the bottom left-hand corner, our blue Protoss representing MVP as well as Korea. Give it up for duckdeok.
Now, subconsciously, players are always a little bit more ready for the build that they just faced. It doesn't really make sense to counter last game's build with your build now. If you do that, you'll always be exactly one step behind. But still, people say, if you're gonna do this twice in a row, I'm gonna be more ready. Epic mind game to do it twice in a row anyway. Because almost no one ever does. In StarCraft, you learn the hard way that if you are predictable, you'll get countered. If duckdeok did it again, it would be kind of funny. But as you see, MMA is not going Command Center first again. It's not really the map for it either. This is really a Reaper map.
Oh, yes, very much so. Good opportunities to jump in, dance around. There's that small ledge to the left back side of the base that makes it a little bit easier to jump in as well. And the double gas has already gone down here for duckdeok.
Yeah. Triple chrono, everything looking normal. But no early probe on the map.
Yeah.
No early proxy Stargate once again.
That second pylon being in the base is a good indicator that we're not seeing as quick a crazy aggression here from duckdeok.
Yeah, it always means something when you build your buildings on the wrong side of the map.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I thought this was my base. Well, okay, might as well use them to attack with.
Guess so. He thinks the whole map's his base. He's already thinking, I've won this. I'll just expand everywhere. But
the world is your playground.
Oh, it was for duckdeok in Season 2, got to tell you that.
Yeah.
And, well, he's looking to repeat that performance in Season 3. But can he? He has to go through MMA first. He's already one game up to advance onto the round of 8. MMA tweeting us, who wants roast duck? Well.
I don't... Wow.
Multitasking at its finest.
It's completely not conceivable that that this is not really a tweet from MMA. This is legit, right?
This has to be legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It certainly has to be. I don't think our production team's just like, haha, we'll replicate MMA and just be like...
No, they would never do that, even if the boss, like the product manager or something, he forced them to.
No, probably not. No. Actually, no, Kenneget's quite a scary guy, so maybe.
Okay. All right. So, Twilight Council for duckdeok. Very early, 410. And that's after the SCV scouted him. And now we don't... Oh yeah, we see a Reaper. But the Reaper is fulfilling a defensive scouting position rather than seeing what's happening. Proxy is being scouted for. As you see, people always subconsciously or consciously counter the build from last game a bit.
He's being meticulous about his scouting in the middle of the map, and because of that, he's given his opponent more time to try and defend the Twilight Council, but it's not going to matter anyway.
Yeah,
so
go in just in time. Now, if he had chrono boosted the Stalker, he might have been able to dissuade the Reaper from entering this deep.
Yeah.
But as it stands, triple gate, a Stalker, and Blink with chrono has been shown. And I would be very hard pressed to pin this as a mind game.
And more so than other games I've seen with Blink all-ins from Protoss, I actually really like the placement of the barracks here for MMA. That tech lab being where it is, if he wants to actually go for any researches or anything, it's going to be much easier to defend. But you already know, like, getting a siege tank, that's really, really good against this Blink Stalker assault, I believe.
I do think you're right. MMA doing it the right way. This one has to throw up a pylon. He throws up only one. Those Marines can take down this pylon if it weren't for the time warp.
Yeah, and that does slow down this assault somewhat of MMA.
If he loses that pylon, it's really, really a significant slowdown, and I think he is going to lose it.
The probe, I think there's another probe just moving into the middle of the map. Is it behind that Stalker? Yes, it is.
The Stalker's going to get warped in.
No! Oh, that's a big, big deal. This is going to take a lot longer time here for duckdeok to actually move forward. And again, there's going to be a second siege tank out, I feel, before this even hits.
Yeah, and there was a supply block for duckdeok. Now, for the new StarCraft players out there, seeing those Stalkers die in such dramatic fashion mid-warp, okay, bye-bye. They don't really die, the warp-ins. You get back the money, it didn't cost you anything, there isn't even a percentage of loss. It's just like a failed training, it doesn't cost you money. That Stalker that died to the tank, very real.
Very real,
Very real.
And he figured that out as soon as he got completely blasted into oblivion, unfortunately for that Stalker. But now, MMA's defenses are set up nicely. He's going to have, well, he's getting a third siege tank.
Yeah.
These Marines are so well positioned to defend the siege tanks as well. Normally, you would, he gets full confirmation of what's going on, but normally you would try against this to, try and wiggle around, maybe find a siege tank where you could to kill it off with a blink maybe, but you can't here. This is so well positioned.
This is a nucleus base build. MMA identifying the possible threats on this map, like a lot of space to blink in. And he's got the nucleus base build. Boom, 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 boom. Stalkers are shooting, and there goes the first Stalkers, and boom, that was a big hit.
That really was. Resources lost 1,100 to 400 right now in favor of MMA. Pro production has begun again here for duckdeok, but any transitioning off of this is going to be hard.
Yeah. It's really hard to transition from this. There's really no synergy to be gotten for duckdeok. It's just going to try and make a nexus, and then, I don't know. And the probe is at the wrong nexus. What's he going to do?
He's going to expand up there and be happy, but maybe he was going to expand there and try and trick out his opponent to thinking that there was no expansion down at the natural.
Yeah, but the probe was spotted.
Yeah, exactly.
And you might think, okay, the natural can get sieged from the third base, like from the low ground. But then this one is even more fragile to siege tank fire from like below, like the third base. If you look right above there, place tanks there, you can shoot the mineral line.
Especially when you lose more Stalkers and thus cannot really defend it so easily.
Thorzane, take notes. He got blunked by MC and didn't have siege tanks. Duckdeok tried the same build more or less, but MMA saw it coming for a long time.
And this army is just going to do a lot of damage. I mean, there's not a whole lot he has to his name. He has 5 Stalkers and 4 sentries. Trying to get a Robo up to try and get Immortals out to tank all of this damage against tanks. Yeah. That was the worst sentence of all time, but...
I followed it.
Yeah,
I heard Immortals, tanks.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And it's the same. It's the same thing. Anyone who's behind their computer now and they've got StarCraft open, go ahead and press F12 in StarCraft, click on the tank, and it says natural counter is immortal. That help file has really helped me in a lot of tight situations.
Yeah.
Very useful.
I remember using it on your stream sometime, just to check mid-game.
Yeah.
What was a counter to what?
Yeah. Tanks countered by Immortals, and he's going straight for Colossi, which I feel might not quite hit the mark.
No.
Another Stalker going down. Losses he can ill afford, KLRs.
The acrobatic Stalker falls down dramatically, and, with that, this army is looking so strong. He is supply blocked. That's one thing that was going in duckdeok's favor for a second to try and keep him stabilized.
And he killed a Marine at the tower.
He got a Marine. Good stuff. But this is still really going to be hard. He's trying to set up like what seems like, a flank from both sides, trying to shut this down. But
and MMA kind of feels that, so I really appreciate what duckdeok is doing here. He's shown himself in 2 to 3 different locations. And because of that, MMA says, they're like, I don't want to start a base trade just yet. I haven't stabilized enough yet. No combat shield. Like, he could probably do it and get away with it, but he's playing it safe.
Yeah.
Just like duckdeok was against the Titan with an advantage. So he moved back his army. Still probably in a huge advantage. But duckdeok, if he can get time, he'd rather have that than dying immediately.
Yeah, army supplies 54 to 35, and duckdeok's hope is to try and transition onto Colossi as quickly as he can do. Can't even afford thermal lance at this point, realistically, to shut this down. Those rocks gonna have to help out.
Should have killed you when I had the chance. duckdeok says to the rocks.
Well, they're just gonna sit around and not do too much, whilst now MMA wails away at this base that is closer to his opponent, and this is gonna be hard to defend.
How about duckdeok puts Photon Overcharge on the Nexus and uses it to kill the rocks? It's in range.
He could do that. And, well, hold the phone. We need to see. No, he's not gonna catch those units just yet. I think if a siege tank is immobilized at the bottom of that, nice force fields, catch 2 marauders. Oh, but no. And blinks forwards to catch off the rest again. But siege tanks being immobilized under that rocks, I think it does damage to it.
Yeah, they die.
You have to be, yeah, a unit has to be immobilized under the rocks.
Right, that's correct. And well, when you're behind, Dark Shrine.
Why not?
Desperation Templars incoming. 50% to certain victory. No, not quite. Dark Templars, they may do something.
It's ambitious.
Yeah, it's something.
It is. He's going to try and work on the rocks again. The infamous rocks that he needs to break down. Oh, nice force fields. We'll catch a little bit of the army, and the Colossus is going to reinforce this. So it killed a Marine.
It killed a Marine, ladies and gentlemen.
Congratulations for killing that Marine that was stuck by the force fields. Blinks forwards, actually kills off a siege tank. Not too bad. Where are the other siege tanks?
Yeah, where's everything?
They all died.
No.
Oh, did the rocks kill the siege tanks? Did we?
Can we get a replay? Okay, later.
Let's get a replay.
I don't really know how that happened, really, but there's still a huge bio force here.
Maybe they were under the force fields. But anyway, that being said, these Zealots are going to try and hold on with this Colossus as well as the Immortal, but that's so much bio. Again, MMA, throughout this entire game long, even without the Siege Tanks, has had such a good advantage with his army, picks up, chases down the second Colossus without Thermal Lance, making it even harder for duckdeok to kite it.
Yeah, and small amounts of Marauders against small amounts of Colossus do absolutely great against it. There go the DT, and they're currently unscouted. These DTs are killing a lot of units, and if this Nexus survives, is there a tiny chance for duckdeok? Maybe? Probably not, but still, nice defense by duckdeok.
It's a tough time when your incomplete infrastructure is being sieged up. These units at the front as well have been spotted, but the scan instantly as the DT start warping in just to make sure that he's going to kill them off. And those pylons going down. It's going to mean lights out here for duckdeok. GG. Game number 2 goes to MMA.
And the game really was lost at around the 4-minute, 50-second mark.
Yeah,
with the skill, the knowledge of counters that MMA has, once he saw 3 to 4 gates and Twilight Council spinning for Blink, he had the setup necessary to start making tanks. And there was no way he was going to lose to it. So maybe duckdeok could have said, like, okay, I've gotten this scouted, I'm playing against the factory opening. I don't think he knew. Oh, no, the Stalker moved in. And if he had at that very moment said, I know you're an extremely competent player, you know the counter. Maybe he didn't know that, okay? But let's say if he knew that, then he could have potentially said, okay, I'm going to expand now and pretend I'm doing a Blink all-in. Hope you are very defensive, continue for a while, and straight away go to Immortals and charge or whatever. But with the amount of Stalkers that he produced early game, it was game loss already. There was no way he could kill that amount of Marines and tanks there in defensive position.
That's very true. Our third map is going to be Frost. And if we just briefly come back to game number 2 again, I'm pretty sure that the siege tanks were under the force fields on those rocks. So they were like double isolated. They were inside force fields and in siege mode. Like, I can't, but so that was kind of weird. But it was cool of duckdeok to try and break down those rocks at that particular time.
Did what he could?
Yeah, did what he could with what he had.
Reminds me a lot of The Land Before Time.
Yes.
This dinosaur cartoon from
I know.
our young years.
It was good.
At some point, the friendly little dinosaurs, they throw a rock on the T-Rex's head. And
as he's climbing up the rocks?
At the water.
Yeah.
And then it goes lights out for the T-Rex. That's what duckdeok tried to do, but, well, T-Rex, it's too strong. MMA the T-Rex.
MMA the T-Rex, man, he gets the job done. And Willie in game number 3. Both of these players want to move on in first place in this group onto the round of 8. As you guarantee yourself not only a spot there, a spot in Premier in Season 4, in 2014, and you guarantee yourself a second place finisher you fight against in the round of 8. Nice, nice little things.
Oh, yeah.
But now, as we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, our Red Terran, representing Acer as well as Korea. Give it up for MMA. And up to the top right, our reigning WCS Europe champion, as the Blue Protoss representing MVP in Korea. Give it up for duckdeok.
Now, as you mentioned, if you win this group, you're guaranteed to face, in the round of 8, in the quarterfinals, next week, 5 and 6 October, you're guaranteed to face a second placer.
Yes.
The second placers we have in Group A, B, and C are Stardust, MC, and Nerdcho. So are you truly more happy to face a second placer than a first? The first places are Targa, Vortex, and Genius. Also very good, but I would say it's very comparable, the skill between all these.
You could make the argument that second place finishers have had more proven of themselves in the past than our first place finishers have.
Yeah, each of
certainly make that
the
argument.
second placers have won at least one tournament.
Yeah.
And on average, if you average them, MC, Nerdcho, and Stardust, they've won like on average, I don't know, 4 or 5 tournaments each.
Hundreds of tournaments.
On average?
Hundreds.
Okay. But one thing we can say, there's 2 Protoss and a Zerg on second place, and there's 2 Zergs and a Protoss in first place. So if you like Protoss Mirror, you should get first in this group. And duckdeok, off the back of PvP, has done very well in Season 2 winning it. So he certainly wouldn't mind winning. And then, of course, there's the argument to be said that if you win now, you're through. And if you lose now, you still have to fight for it. So it's a pretty compelling argument, too.
Yeah, you kind of just want to get through and kind of get what you're given, I guess, at the very end.
It's like, no, I like StarCraft so much, I want to play all the series. That's me, usually.
You can't be choosy about these things, Grubby. You can't be picky.
Thanks, Galaris.
All right.
I'll try to do my best in every series from now on.
That's what I expect of you, Grubby.
Thanks.
Well, okay, let's get to this game. Frost, as I said, is our map. We have a pretty standard opening. It was Command Center first for MMA, right? Into 2 barracks.
Yeah. And we have a poet here on Twitter, Mr. Einfan.
The Duck defeated the Titan. Can he defeat Legend?
Thank you, Shakespeare.
What would you... Okay, here's a question. What would you rather do? Would you rather fight 1 Titan-sized duck or 1,000 duck-sized Titans? That's the question.
What is it? Doesn't a Titan mean something very big? So how can you have duck-sized Titans?
It's a... No, okay.
Or it's like a Titan, like
a Titan-sized duck. That's the
god.
one.
A dog?
Like a dog.
What about a dog-sized duck?
A dog-sized duck.
That would be scary, I'll tell you.
I mean...
I would run.
Yeah, the little bills that nip you.
No, a dog-sized duck.
A dog-sized duck. I'm getting so confused
that
right
would
now.
be like twice as big as a duck is.
That's a pretty big duck.
Command Center first for duckdeok, and he's got his robotics facility started at a very normal time. Maybe a little bit earlier than normally, but there goes the forge. This is the most safe build that a Protoss can do. Now, he hasn't scouted any of the starting locations. All he's done is take presence on the Zanaga watchtowers. And the cool thing about that is that when you scout around the map, clockwise, counterclockwise, doesn't matter, sooner or later you're going to pass the Zanaga tower. So maybe duckdeok can deduce where the opponent is based on that SCV movement. So, forge is ready, can start armor upgrade. And he's got the forge potentially for cannons. Very aggressive move out here by the Marines. Nice control there by Stalkers. Didn't take much damage. 1 probe goes down, a 2nd probe will go down before the...
But he does lose all the Marines in the end.
Yeah, 5 Marines for a probe is not a good trade.
It's interesting, because normally you see these kinds of poke counts from Terran after a barracks opening, and then they poke out and they try and force that, the photon overcharge from the Nexus, and that's all good. But from a Command Center first, I don't think that works out too well generally.
Yeah, a lot of people do it actually, surprisingly. 5-6 Marine. If someone goes for an early sentry, for example, if you're doing an Immortal Bust or you just like getting an early sentry for Guardian Shield or Hallucination, that kind of 5 Marine attack kills a sentry, kills 2-3 probes, maybe activates a Photon Overcharge and kills nothing. Now he lost all that because duckdeok was playing very safe. 3 Stalkers. Now, MMA was going for another push out with like 9 Marines, but the observer saw it and he said, well, if you're going to kite me all the way back home,
Yeah.
I'd rather not really. Now, with duckdeok, I think the third Nexus he's building now is reactive. I think he said, you're probably on command center first. Argument 1. This map is very good for command center to first.
Yeah.
Argument 2, you did that Marine push out and you didn't seem all too bothered losing those Marines.
Yeah.
Maybe you're on a really good economy with good production, command center first. Because if you want to do like a Marine, Hellion, Medivac, Widowmine attack, you don't want to lose 5 Marines for free. So he said, I can go for a third Nexus. To make that decision so quickly, after killing those Marines, he had a small early game advantage to killing those Marines.
Yeah.
That's really good. And we saw this against Titan, where he took a very quick third too. Decisions like this are decisions that foreigners don't make as easily oftentimes.
Yeah.
Because of lack of game knowledge. We have excellent game knowledge in the grand scheme of things, but compared, duckdeok is still a little bit better for the most part, and that was a really good decision by him.
Yeah, and it's going to be very hard for his opponent to ever punish here. I mean, MMA, yes, he will have a strong standing army, but by the time he wants to move out, there's already going to be at least 1 Colossus out in the field.
Yeah.
And that is going to make it a little bit harder. He's not getting thermal lances as quick as one would imagine with Colossi, so he might even just go straight over from the Twilight Council to Templar Archives with just 1 Colossus in hand, but that would be kind of scary on 3 Nexus that quickly.
Yeah, you're right, that definitely can happen, and it's something that has been popular for a very long time, but in this particular case, I think he's just omitting it, because defensive Colossus spread around your bases, thermal lance isn't as important. You need it for big fights, and you need it for attacks, but you don't really need... Oh, the observer survived. He's going to have to expend the scan or let it go. Yeah, that's a go. I was just saying, you don't need thermal lances fast defensively, so you'd rather get the blink, the double forge going, and more Colossi, because you don't have the gas yet. You can just get it in anticipation of a big fight later.
Well, again, his production is going to be sitting very nicely. He does not know about the third base just yet, does MMA. He'll send a Marine up there to scout it out, and now we'll end up spotting... Oh, unless that Marine dies off before... No, he stims, he knows, he absolutely has to stim and see that, and he does. Very important, but at the same time, force field's in the middle. Cuts this army off for a sec.
3 force fields, 1 used stim, and only killing about 2 to 3 Marines. Not a very good trade for duckdeok there, but let's take a look at duckdeok's vision. He's got 4 observers on the map. Really good vision. He sees 1 in the main, he sees everything moving out of the natural, there's 1 over the bridge, he sees the medevac going into the natural now if he's paying attention, and there's 1 more in the big open space in the middle, so he can spread his units properly. Blink is already finished, so MMA has to be careful. It's almost like these drops might be at quite a big risk.
The mixing of the Immortals with that Templar Archives going down now makes duckdeok's eventual army extremely potent if he can get to it. But he is already spreading his units nicely, as you said. And hey, this is cute. I like that.
Yeah. We both like it.
It's nice just to stop, Zealot run-bys from that location. And it will give him forewarning. I mean, I'd rather lose a supply depot or 2 than 10 SCVs.
I'd rather lose 10 SCVs.
Really?
If I wanted to die.
Oh.
Yeah, but I don't. So the depots is much better choice. Blinkstalker's going up into 2 medevacs worth of units. That's not a good idea. He can't kill anything. Goes back, will lose the pylon if he doesn't cancel it. But still, units lost stat is a very important stat to look at.
It certainly is, and MMA has evened things up a little bit in that regard, with resources lost of 575 to 800. It was previously 800 to 50. So those previous engagements just then were extremely cost-effective for MMA.
Yeah. Now, MMA is gearing up for a second starport. We don't see a Ghost Academy yet. So it's just second starport, Vikings, and could we be seeing the dreaded Viking pool? Or does MMA say, I want to go into the late game? Because I'm not sure it's going to work this time, the Viking pool. There's Archons, there's good upgrades. duckdeok is actually ahead in supply. That's really uncommon.
Yeah, it is. It's all thanks to that early third Nexus, right?
Yeah,
the fact that he had so much economy to fuel that. Even that being said, though, the fact that the upgrades so far here for duckdeok, he's going for mech weapons.
Yeah, so that's for...
Is he going to mix in Hellbats with this?
I think he meant that for the Vikings.
Yeah,
Stellaris.
I think he meant that for the Vikings as well.
Wow.
Because
or he thinks that this is the new patch test map.
It's going to be a while before that. Well, these 4 medevacs heading up to the top left-hand corner here. this could come back to sting MMA if his Vikings aren't as potent as they once were.
Yeah, let's just, we have mentioned it now once, let's not bring it up again until Apollo at the analysis desk, but because it's like we don't really need to spend much more time on it, but it may come back to haunt him. Okay, back to the game. We've got equal upgrades for now, but duckdeok is finishing a number of upgrades soon. Really on top of everything. This is a 4 medevac Doom drop, and the Zealots are there. Not a lot of Zealots, but he discourages them, and High Templar's not far behind. MMA can't find a hole in the defenses.
Nice blink. Oh, will he get one? Yes, he will. Very nice snipe out there by duckdeok here in game number 3. And actually, now that I say that, you got to remember, it is game number 3. duckdeok is in a great position here to continue on forwards. Look at his army supply here, 123 to 104.
Yeah.
And the upgrades are lining up here for duckdeok.
Yeah, very good probe count for duckdeok. He's at 66. So he gets the maximum army on max out.
And this small contingent of forces going to head into that third base. It is left a little bit vulnerable, but at the same time, the army for duckdeok doesn't have any High Templars in it. A nice snipe out here, though, from MMA if he's able to get that Nexus. And it looks like he will end up doing so.
MMA finds the first hole in the defenses this game, but that's only because duckdeok is letting him, because he's got bigger things on his mind. He is dreaming big here. He's dreaming of a victory, and Nexus doesn't need to feature in his plans necessarily. Ghosts are out, though, and he's walking into a meat grinder. Good EMPs might spell disaster for duckdeok here.
We're getting a weird base trade scenario again, but at the same time, well, duckdeok has to be careful. He doesn't want all these EMPs to hit him. He's lost all of his Colossi at the front. Well, actually, no, he moved those back. So he's kept those. He's retained them. He's moving back for now. But MMA is doing a lot of damage with this drop.
Wow, actually, duckdeok is forced to go back. And he's going to lose another Nexus, for sure.
Uh-oh. This means this is all the army is going to have if that Nexus goes down, and it does. MMA. Oh, wow. This game has completely turned on its head. duckdeok looks in a great position, but now MMA with that, duckdeok's being forced to double re-expand because he knows he can't break his opponent's army with what he's currently got.
Wow. duckdeok trying to flip the kill switch there. He was maxed out. He had 2-3 upgrades. He had a fantastic army. No storm yet. And the no storm part is really what haunted him.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Because if you want to get supply efficient with defenses, what do you need, Kalaris?
You need big AoE.
And the storm is the Psy Storm from the High Templar is the most supply efficient defense that you can get. It's no good leaving Archons or Colossi at home. And because duckdeok skipped storm, that's why his army was so big. And once it was maxed, he couldn't really get his army any better. And because he skipped storm, he couldn't really attack as well against a very smart and prepared opponent. MMA played that out really nicely. We thought that duckdeok was going to crush, but MMA finding that first hole in the defenses put himself in a very nice lead. Good defenses, and now he is the aggressor.
And MMA knows he has an advantage. Nice blinks from duckdeok to try and focus down some of these Vikings. They are already working on one of the Colossi, though, and that will end up falling. Only one Colossus left, and if that goes down in this army, that's a lot of AoE that is now missing from this. Even the Archon has to come back, but the Vikings, they've now done their job. MMA is marching on. Oh, he's maxed out. duckdeok is in full retreat, 150 supply.
No Psy Storm to help against the masses of MMA's army, so his full army can come to justice here, can do a good job. The Ghost in front, they don't have Cloak yet, but they're EMPing everything, and duckdeok's army is being annihilated.
Yeah, those Archons absolutely disintegrate under those EMPs, along with the Bio finishing them off as well. MMA is on the warpath. GG! And MMA advances on in first place here to the round of 8, defeating duckdeok 2-1.
MMA, congratulations. You are the first and only Terran in the WCS Europe round of 8. And duckdeok, you're going to have to do things the hard way.
Yeah.
Through the final match here against the winner of Starbuck versus Titan.
He certainly is. And that's not where duckdeok wants to be at all. After a great performance in Season 2, that is certainly not where he wants to be. But this man, MMA, being able to advance on as that only Terran, as you rightly pointed out, that's an impressive finish for him. And a lot of hope was resting on his shoulders for Terran kind. And he's certainly done well. Very pleased with his result there.
Yeah, well, nice job by him. And Team Acer gets a player into round of 8. duckdeok will go the hard way. And yeah, now MMA will be facing one of Nurtro, MC, and Stardust. Now, Kalaris, I should probably know this, but you're going to know even better. Are the drawings tonight for the round of
Yes,
eight?
they are. They are right after the final series with our wrap-up. So I love these things, man.
Yeah.
Like the round of 32 to the round of 16 drawings that we do those in the studio, and then drawing the round of 8 is always a lot of fun as well. So guys, we can go over to an interview with our first place finisher from Group D, Mr. Asa MMA.
Congratulations, MMA. Fantastic comeback as well after that second map. Seemed to go a little bit wrong, and there's a little bit of cheese there maybe from duckdeok. I don't know. Maybe I think he does understand the word cheese as well. So talk us through map 1. What were your thoughts going into map 1 against duckdeok?
첫 번째 맵에서 무슨 생각을 했었는지 그리고 어떻게 된 건지.
일단 처음에 서치를 갔는데 좀 이상한 전략 같길래 구석구석 다 서치를 했거든요. 근데 예언자인 걸 대충 알았는데 좀 내가 생각하지 못한 타이밍에 3예언자랑 추적자랑 러시가 와서 좀 너무 쉽게 진 것 같아요.
So I scouted a lot to find what his build is, and I actually thought about oracles, but the initial push came at a different timing than I expected, so I kind of lost like very easily to him.
Okay, and then the third map, it looked for a while that you were trying to come in on that top side, around the 12 o'clock side, continually trying to get away at that third nexus. He then committed a full army when he was 200 down to yours, and then suddenly you were able to take down 2 nexus. Was that always the plan for you, or were you just a little bit lucky there with the way that he pushed onto you?
두 번째 게임에서 이제 마지막에 200을 채우고 왔었는데 그때 갑자기 뭐 넥서스를 다 부시면서 이겼었는데 세 번째 게임은 그 예상을 했었는지 아니면 어떻게 됐었던 건지 그 상황이.
일단 내가 4의료선 병력이 좀 나오면 좀 들어가려고 그랬는데 들어가다가 좀 걸려가지고 하나가 잃었잖아. 그래서 12시에서 대기하고 있다가 상대가 오면은 들어가야 된다는 생각을 했거든. 근데 거의 200 꽉 채워서 오는 병력 같길래 이건 엇갈리면 내가 이길 수 있겠구나 싶었어.
So I tried to drop with 4 medevacs, but he scouted it and also killed 1 medevac of those. So I just thought that he will push at 200 supply. So all I do is just go to his nexus, kill his nexus with my drop, and just defend the push, and I would win. So it worked.
Yeah, it certainly did work. It worked very well. In the next round, in round of 8, congratulations, you are through to that quarterfinal. The draw is a little later on. You're going to be playing one of the second place players that aren't in your group, which means you either get MC, Stardust, or Nurchio. Which one do you want?
나중에 이제 다음 조를 발표를 하는데 상대들이 방금 말했던 선수들인데 누굴 만나고 싶은지.
일단 내가 준비만 잘 되면은 그리고 좀 기복만 없으면은 누가 되든 상관없을 것 같아.
I think it doesn't really matter who I face. I'll just practice hard, and if I have a good condition on that play day, I will definitely win.
Okay, one last question for you. You are now the only Terran in the round of 8. Can you take it all the way and make Terrans proud everywhere?
마지막 또 남은 테란이 됐는데 다른 테란 선수들을 위해 끝까지 갈 수 있을 것 같은지.
일단 테란을 위해서도 가고 네, 개인적으로 그 블리즈컨을 너무 가고 싶어서 꼭 가겠습니다.
Yeah, I'll definitely try to go to the finals for all the Terrans out there, and also to go to BlizzCon.
All right, well, congratulations and good luck in the quarterfinals as well. MMA safely through after 2 wins out of 2 in Group D. Just one more spot available now for the quarterfinals, and 3 men still after it. We'll be up with Game 4 in just a moment, but first, let's break down game number 3 with Apollo.
Thank you very much, Red Eye, and here I am with my screen of knowledge, and we're going to be having a look at that game, more specifically about how things started for MMA, went bad, got worse, and then he won. And we're going to look at that process through. So first of all, the first move of the game from MMA, he decides to move out with a couple of Marines, and as Grubby described, if we look at it as well here, is that these Marines only got a single probe kill and they lost their lives. And this is just a bad start and a bit of a mistake from MMA. So as we can see, the micro is very good from the Stalkers and the Mothership Core. He gets one probe and then that's it. From this position, that's 5 Marines, which should be usually pressuring. They're obviously going to be used later on once they go back, because those Marines are usually used, if you remember, for the photon overcharge later on. So from this position, there's another squad of Marines which see the Observer, and more importantly, the Observer sees them. So again, MMA can't really go out, can't do anything, because he'd probably lose those Marines as well, if they weren't there to surprise duckdeok, which they weren't. So if we pause it from this position, we've had 2 moves in this game. Both of them have done nothing. One hurt MMA, and the second one was cancelled because it was spotted. Duckdeok says, all right, well, you're not playing so well this game. You've already lost a lot. Let me punish you. And it's an indirect punish. It's not like, let me come and kill you. It's more, I'm going to take a 3rd Nexus, and because you've lost Marines already, you didn't want to come out with a 2nd squad because you know I saw them coming. And then to remember that there was at least 2 Stalkers. What can he do with a handful of Marines? Nothing. So duckdeok responds in the best way possible. So from this point onwards, we can fast forward it through, because MMA doesn't look to gather any more information for quite a long time in this game, and he just builds up his infrastructure, the barracks, the command center, and eventually he moves out, and eventually he spots the 3rd Nexus. But there's one important upgrade which is missing, which hurt him for a lot of this game, which is the combat shields. He never researched it, and it was a mistake for the majority of this game. So finally, I think at this point, he's found out about the 3rd Nexus. So if we pause it from here, MMA now knows, darn it, you've taken a 3rd Nexus. Well done, good move. And now MMA needs to find a way to crack open his opponent, because if he doesn't, then with a 3rd Nexus means better upgrades, faster economy, faster army, because he's going to have much more to spend on warp gates. So what ends up happening from this point is MMA attempts, keyword, attempts to break down duckdeok. So if we fast forward it from here again, every attempt fails. Every attempt fails. Here he comes up, doesn't have combat shields. To be honest, if he had combat shields, attempting becomes a lot easier than normal, because he'd be able to do more damage or survive, therefore deal more damage. But unfortunately for him, that's not the case until one big point, which almost cost him the game, by the way. So he decides, and this is a desperation move, I need something, he says. So he decides to load 4 medivacs, aims for the main, and to be honest, this could have cost him the entire game. But luckily, he only lost 1 of the 4 medivacs. Pause it for a second. Right south, High Templar. If they got feedbacks, Stalkers came up north, game over. Lose the medivacs, lose the game. Look how many, or how much energy the medivacs have. Game over. It's that simple. You can't lose these units. So luckily, he escapes with 3 out of 4, as you see. But then all of a sudden, duckdeok says, that's enough. I want to go attack you. From this point on, the game just goes woo for duckdeok. Because what ends up happening is those 3 medivacs are still alive, and it's like he forgot about them. Pause it for a second here as well. 193 supply to 198. He can warp in 2 zealots. I mean, well, 2 zealots, it was 3 if he had another pylon, which isn't complete. A 2 zealots going to defend against all that when there's no units left? Classic mistake. Never move out without leaving some units behind. Cannons aren't enough. So if we pause it from here, MMA comes crashing through. Cannons down to the Nexus. Those 2 zealots, useless. And now the Nexus is dead. So all of a sudden, duckdeok is pushed into a position he never wanted to be in, where he has to attack to kill. MMA, best response ever. If we look down here, evacuates his 3rd base, says, all right, all I need to do is defend and I win. I've killed his 3rd Nexus, my command center can float, your Nexus can't. He actually does this really well. He says, come up, come on, come kill me. I'm waiting. I've got EMPs, I've got the high ground advantage, I've got a good spread of units. You will die if you attack up here. And duckdeok realizes that, but it's too late. He comes back with his entire army, but it's too late. He's going to lose everything to this drop. He loses a 2nd Nexus. And then if we fast forward it from here, this is where MMA basically said, if I defend, I will win. Did he defend? Yes, he did. And oh boy, did he. And from this position, the economy is terrible. The 3rd command center lands again, so it's now 3 base versus 1. And duckdeok, who was in superior position and was really looking to win this game, went from hero to 0. And then from this point, there's no High Templars, there's no Storms, the Vikings chase down the Colossus, and this is game over. Classic mistake from duckdeok, but a very good game here from MMA. Noticeably, both players capitalized on each other's mistakes. StarCraft can be a brutal game sometimes. All right, guys, thanks for listening. This has been some analysis. Now let's head over to Red Eye.
Thank you very much. Yes, breakdown of game number 3, game number 4, coming very shortly your way. So stay tuned to WCS, round of 16, Premier League season number 3. We are coming to a close of round of 16. We have just 2 more games to go, with 3 players vying for 1 spot in the quarterfinals. Don't forget that quarterfinals takes place next weekend, the 5th and 6th of October. Your host for that one will be In Control, basically because Red Eye's sister is greater than 9,000 and therefore owns esports. Or she may just be ruining it, I'm not sure. But anyway, she's getting married and I can't be here. So In Control will be your host next week, which I'm really looking forward to, as I'll definitely be tuning in during the wedding. Anyway, keep those tweets coming. Make sure you like us on Facebook as well, facebook.com/StarCraft, and make sure you're following the official StarCraft channel at StarCraft on Twitter. Your tweets keep coming. Make sure you use the hashtag #WCS. We'll be right back with game number 4. It's the Battle of Europe. Who goes through to face duckdeok?